Afterpath. You depart from the Prosperity Chamber and are instantly caught up in a wave of refugees fleeing for their lives. Struggling through the panic wave of humanity, you are able to retrace your steps and eventually reach AoE. Although the typhoon has passed, the scene is wet and chaotic. The newly homeless crowd the street, dazed, wandering, searching for missing loved ones, and nursing injuries. Relief workers are already on the scene, providing blankets and medical aid. Rescue personnel carry the stunned and wounded to safety. The entire area has been cordoned off by the HKPF, while knight-errant officers and the military peacekeeping force attempt to maintain order. You emerge from Kowloon walled city to a bustling cluster of activity. Refugees huddling together, staring back at their lost homes. Government troops deploying from armored personal carriers. News vans setting up remote camera feeds while reporters scramble to find the right angle for their broadcast. The air is electric with the threat of potential violence as panicked peacekeepers eye the growing crowd of evacuating poor. Gabette's eyes dart furtively as she turtles her head between her shoulders. This place is hot. The cops are swarming the place and the APB is still out on us. Hmm. Let's head for the boat. Sounds good. It's gonna take a year's worth of showers to wash that experience off of me. Isabel lifts her nose toward a reporter interviewing someone from inside the old city. Looks like we get to see a man on the street interview on our way. The press already have their hooks in someone, hoping for a soundbite. The reporter wears a look of earnest concern, like a coat of cheap deodorant. And is that when you started running? Yeah, it was bad in there, shooting, screaming. I was terrified. And what caused this, sir? Why are people flooding out of the walled city, injured and disoriented? Man stares at the scene around him, bewildered. It's like everyone's saying, some sort of chemical leak. Drug lab exploded or something, caused mass hallucinations. Reporter turns to the camera and pretends to check his nose. There you have it, Sonny. Our third report of mass hallucinations and violence caused by an explosion of illegal drug lab. And while reports remain sketchy, it appears that street crime is again on the rise. He half turns and sweeps his arm over the scene. As you can see, it's still turmoil and confusion here as police and executive council peacekeepers respond to the emergency situation, attempting to maintain order. But in all this chaos, in the maze of poverty that is Kowloon Walled City, we may never know what really happened in there. Back to you in the studio, Sonny. The light on the news camera goes off and the reporter drops his facade. He ignores the bedraggled man beside him and begins packing up his equipment. After a moment he sees you looking at him and turns to you with a scowl. What are you looking at? Mass hallucinations. Do you believe that story? No, I don't believe this story. Laughs sardonically and continues packing. Am I wearing a t-shirt that says I'm a fool, feed me your line of corporate bullshit? No. But in my experience, the rest of the world is. Everything you see, everything you've been taught, every official you elect, all bought and paid for by the people pulling the strings. Yeah, well, no one's telling me what to think. No eye contact. He remains bent over his equipment case. Of course not, pal. You're different. The reporter finishes packing. He stands up straight, brushing the wet grit of the street off his hands, and his eyes narrow. He runs them over you and your crew with a practiced eye. Looks like you just came from inside. What did you really see in there? A mess that Josephine Chang never cleaned up. Chuckles. Why am I not surprised? No one even remembers that she built this hole in the first place. Not that it would matter. Yo Chang holds this town by the balls. It wouldn't surprise me if she was running some kind of a test in the walled city. It's like their little petri dish. They test food additives, food modifications, body modifications, pharmaceuticals, whatever some junior executive can dream up. Wouldn't surprise me if the whole thing blew up in her face because low safety standards either. They test food additives, body modifications, pharmaceutical. Okay, nothing surprises me anymore. Doesn't it bother you? He blinks at you. Why would it? That's just the way it works. You think I give a shit about journalism? Do you think anyone does anymore? Everyone on this island knows my news service is just a mouthpiece for the executive council. They buy what we feed them because the world is changing and it's scary and they feel small and they need people to blame and authority figures to tell them what to think. My news network gives them that. He points at the Trivit screen mounted on the side of the newsstand. And there's a prime example of an authority figure. Yo Chang, rising star of the Executive Council. Just look at her spinning this to her own ends, talking about the humanitarian relief effort she's mounting. You know? Your calm chirps, it's kindly Chang. Go ahead and take your calm. I'm gonna go before this scene turns up into some kind of a riot. It usually does. Hello, Auntie. Don't hello Auntie me. I lost contact with the soldiers I sent into the walled city with you and now these Chang assholes and government troops are all over the place. Get over here and tell me what the hell happened. What about the cops? There's still an APB out on us. Some mysterious benefactor lifted the APB on you. You can hear her suck on a little black cigar. We'll talk more when you get here. Isabel tugs at your arm, her eyelids at half-mast. I want to sleep for about a year. I'm heading to the Bolt Hole Bob. I could use some sack time too. I'll see you there. Better go talk to Auntie, Seattle. Basic emergency response. And if you are just joining us, we are talking live with Council Member Chang from her office in Prosperity Tower. Council Member, again thank you for being here to help us make sense out of the conflicting reports. We're getting out of Kowloon Walled City. The elder woman nods with queenly composure. Thank you, Sonny. I only wish we were speaking in happier times. Of course, madam, this is indeed a stressful day for the citizens of the walled city. But who knows? The newscaster brightens, flashing the best smile money can buy. For one of them, it might be their lucky day. Stay tuned, because we're going to cut away shortly to this week's Gigaball drawing, where some lucky winner could walk away with almost 1 trillion yuan. Newcaster returns her focus to her guest. A look of practiced concern back on her face. Now, madam, we're saying that this sort of situation is inevitable when masses of underprivileged children are raised in a world without hope. Exactly, Sonny. Josephine Chang leans forward toward the camera. Without hope, these children are left to create their own opportunities the only way they know how, by turning to crime. They're often brought up in single-family households without strong guidance to put them on the right path. They are surrounded by thugs and criminals, eager to put them to work in all manner of unsavory activities. And it's It's events such as this one that call our attention to the plight of these poor, poor children. That is why today I call on my Executive Council colleagues to join with me in supporting a new project, Operation Hope, which seeks to pull these children out of poverty and place them in loving, stable homes while their parents are rehabilitated, re-educated, and reinvigorated with a new sense of purpose. That sounds like a tremendous. It is, Sonny, and it will cost billions of yuan to support such a mammoth effort, but Zhang Mechanical Services is ready to lead the way through our new charitable foundation, Chang for Hope. It's time for us to give back to the community and the newscaster puts her finger to her ear. Colonel Council Member, I'm afraid I need to cut you off there. As always, you are doing amazing work for the people of Hong Kong, but her dazzling smile returns. It's time for a gigaball. The older woman smiles contentedly. Of course. Again, thank you so much for joining us and offering your perspective. The newscaster checks the notes in front of her. We have been speaking with Josephine Chang, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and front-runner to be the next chair of the executive committee. Yes. Uh, might as well see this through. There's no additional people here now. We meet up with the shopkeeper. Familiar sight of clutter greets you, as if the shop's earlier attempt at organization were just a phase. Unrolled scrolls, that musky paper scent, and a light build-up of dust on the bookshelves, cramped but comfortable in only the way the five phases could be. Content crafty standers behind the store counter, focusing on something in her hands. Sketchbook. She's drawing. She glances up and smiles quietly. Hey you! How are things? Things are good. Well, better. Dreams are gone, and that's a burden and a half lifted from me. I've set aside my mother's journals. I'm sleeping again. Well, trying to. She shakes her head, shrugs tiredly. But things don't really feel normal yet. I've learned things that have changed me. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to feel. Maybe it's like a wound, and a bandage isn't going to fix it. It needs to heal. Guess I was just hoping that once all this was over with, life would go on like it had before. He stares at you. You know, Uncle Bob, the course of my life changed partly because of you. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Really, I'm happy with my part in all this, that I could help you out, even if a little. No, your mother's journals played a big role in all this. I admit, I'm frustrated. It's so easy to say that in retrospect. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't understand it, but she was still selfish to put her research above her family. She was also the reason we were able to unearth the evil secrets of the city, monsters inside it. She helped us understand them, and in doing so, their weaknesses. He lets her out a long breath. Thank you, Mother. A timid smile creeps into her expression, but the real smile dances inside her candlelit eyes. Thank you, Uncle Bob. Like you, I was just doing what I had to do. Yeah, that sounds about right. She pushes a strand of hair behind her ear. We made a good team. Let's leave it at that. See you around, Crafty. See you around. Hmm. I guess I'll just go to the meeting. Bible Matthew. Commotion from the street of Hayway bleeds into kindly Cheng's mahjong parlor. Riot soldiers bustle to keep with their boss's orders. Couriers come in regularly, whispering to her lieutenant before listening intently and running off again. As you enter, kindly Cheng is giving instructions to Strangler Bayo, who nods enthusiastically. She looks over at you and holds up a hand. And send Wang and Ho to snatch some of those medical supplies off the relief trucks. With all the excitement, nobody's watching them at all. Nods to herself, grimacing in satisfaction. There'll be a big black market for them over the next few weeks. Good thinking, Miss Cheng. Theo lifts a finger to his ear to transmit the orders. When he sees you waiting, he inclines his head a quarter of an inch. Uncle Bob, I figured you were dead. As I heard, my soldiers had found you and everyone was heading into the walled city. Then things got out of control. She takes a pull on her thin black cigar. Where are my people? What the hell happened? We got separated in the walled city. Found out later they were killed. Her eyes are hard little black buttons. Is that how you treat my resources? I died for a good cause. She takes another drag of her cigar, exhales the smoke through the nose. It had better be. They were expendable, not unlimited. He taps her ash on the floor. Well, they knew the risks. They had a shot at moving up and they missed. Forget them. I've got bigger problems, like customers and tenants streaming out of the walled city, screaming for their lives. Like the HKPF and those Chang security shitheels swarming the place. She drops the stub of her cigar in an ashtray. Now tell me what happened in the walled city, or do I have to get an acetylene torch and ask nicely? A new tenant tried to move in, the big, bad, terrifying kind from another dimension. What kind? A Yama King, Yuan Ya, the queen with 1,000 teeth. Never heard of her. She picks up her bottle and of foul spirits and studies the label. Her rusty, mean voice drops low. But I know the Yama Kings. My grandmother used to try to scare me with stories about them. Guess that she thought she was teaching me something by scaring the shit out of me. He chuckled softly. I remember one Yama specifically. Fu Mang, the serpent of the setting sun. Oh yes. Fu Mang promised wealth and influence for those willing to do what was necessary to take it. Her voice turns wistful. The story of Fu Mang spoke to me. All he asked for in return was 44 hearts, pulled from the chest of those closest to you, while they were still alive. Hearts from random victims wouldn't do, so those who took Fu Mang's bargain would befriend others before taking their hearts, turning their entire network into a list of victims. Yes, Fu Mang spoke to me, but I didn't listen. Zhang Bao leans in, his finger on his ear. My apologies, Miss Cheng, but one of the men you sent with the runner into the walled city is still alive. He stumbles into Wang and Ho as they were pulling medical supplies off the lorry. At least one came back alive. Zhang Bao lowers his head, listens to his ear pierce again. Our man says that Wang Long Fat is dead. He got shot up by the HKPF inside the walled city. He lifts his head and makes eye contact with the tribe boss. He's almost salivating with avarice. Our man saw it with his own eyes, Miss Jane. With his own eyes? Is that important? Oh yes, very important. It means I have verification from a trusted man. Wang Lung Fat was my superior in the Yellow Lotus. A 438. Li Jing black-buttoned eyes sparkle with satisfaction born of malice. He was also a pig. Tell our friend Uncle Bob what that means, Mr. Bale. The wolfish smile spreads across her face, and her eyes squeeze into crescent moons of pleasure. And say it's slow. Say it is slow. Okay. Say it slowly, so I can savor it. The death of Wang Lang Fat has opened a spot for you to move up, madam. You could be the next 438. Theo smiles. The effect is chilling. The gods help those who seize opportunities. Mr. Bale put every man we have on this. Spread the word. Kindly Cheng says all debts to the Yellow Lotus are suspended for citizens of the walled city until order is restored, and no interest will compound either. Tell them that I have medical supplies too, and there will be no charge for them until the crisis is over. And after the crisis is over? When the laws of supply and demand take over, my darling, once I convince the relief forces that order has been restored in the walled city, they'll pull out, thankful to be away from there. Within a week the public will forget about the refugees, and the government will be pleased that their budget is no longer being drained by the poor. Medical supplies will dry up overnight, and prices will soar. I may not have brought Josephine Chang down, but I've got my career going again. She grabs her bottle and unscrews the cap with her thumb. Your career too, Mr. Bale. You'll be my new straw sandal. Good partners support one another. Hale lowers his head in respect. You have proven that, Miss Jing. That calls for a drink. The soon-to-be 438 pours 2 shots and stinks of kerosene, stabs your nose like switchblades. She hands a glass to Bale, touches it with her own, and holds it there. Your loyalty and clear-headedness have proven immensely valuable, Mr. Bale. You are an effective ally, and I wish you great wealth and good fortune. They down the foul substance in one gulp. Looks like you two are moving up in the world. Yes, yes, and it appears your fortune is changing too, Uncle Bob. He pours herself another drink and leaves the sting on the table. Remember, you have a mysterious benefactor, one who lifted the APB on you. At least somebody likes me. It must be someone powerful. I can't imagine it was Josephine Chang. After all, what would her motivation be? It's got to be someone else. One of Josephine's enemies on the executive council. I'll have my network. Find out if I can. Bentley pulls out another thin black cigar. But that's for later. I'm missing an entire piece of your story, my darling. What happened to at Prosperity Tower? Did you rescue Raymond Black? Did his mother wipe his memory? We got him. Stopped his mother from wiping his memory. Impressive. You have become quite a Shadowrunner, Uncle Bob. She lights us the cigar, a gleam of hunger in her shiny black eyes. But you were in Prosperity Tower. Did you find any incriminating data on Josephine Chang? Dirt, something I can use. We found financial statements that'll get her in deep with the Executive Council. Joy. Kindly barks a laugh, and the cigar dances in her mouth as she speaks. Now I can take that dried up old bitch to the mat. The Triad boss pulls out a crit stick and tosses it to you. The number on the data readout is big, more than twice the payout of a single Shadowrun. And remember, this is your victory too. With this, Josephine Chang's days on the Executive Council are numbered. Heyo, it appears that my fortunes have truly changed. He pours two more shots from her reeking bottle. Our partnership has become quite enriching, Uncle Bob. She raises her glass. My new number one Shadowrunner. May our partnership continue to bear fruit. To the beginning of something big. Finally Cheng watches you drink, smiling her serpentine smile. Then she drowns her glass in one swallow and licks the rim. Now before I get back to business, I must know, how did you go from rescuing Raymond Black to the walled city vomiting people? Ray built a machine in the walled city. It accidentally summoned the big bad thing. That's when everybody ran. The Triad boss cocks her head, raises her cigar to her lips. If the demon summoning was accidental, what was this machine supposed to do in the first place? It created fortune. Your foster father created a magical fortune machine. Triad boss cocks her head, raises her cigar to her lips. Please tell me you have control of this device. Please tell me you brought it to me. No, sorry. That's a pity. I'm sure there are plenty of people who could benefit from it. Well, this business was certainly proved lucrative for me. Finally Cheng studies the glowing tip of her black cigar. I'm in prime position to be the next Yellow Lotus 438. I only lost 4 men, and I finally got something I can use against Josephine Chan. Ah, yeah, well, Raymond didn't make it. He sacrificed himself to stop the demon. Did he? Maybe that's what he came here to do. She lowers her eyes and her voice softens. Everyone makes their choices, my sweet, and everyone pays the consequences. Even you someday. You've made quite a splash since arriving in Hong Kong, Uncle Bob. Many shadow runs completed in a very short time. Reports from our clients are glowing, mostly. You can add, yeah. You can add closing the door and a demon goddess to that list. You made a difference. Perhaps for some, for a while. The tried boss leans in, her voice conspiratorial. Listen to me, my sweet. When I was a girl, there had never been a pandemic like Vitas, but in 2010, it happened. We've never seen death like that. A quarter of the world's population disappeared. It was miserable. It pushed us to our limits. But the survivors moved on. And then the spike babies started appearing, and the dwarf babies. And then suddenly there were dragons, and goblinization, and magic, and every time the world changed we got used to it. So if a demon goddess decided that the walled city was her new living room, and you didn't, whatever you did, what would have happened? She shrugs, sniffs. Perhaps the news would cover it until the next sensation pulled their attention away, but after a while it would be drowned out by all the other crap competing for our attention, and the demon in the walled city would become the new normal. Well, the new normal is that the walled city isn't under magical influence anymore. Congratulations! The poor can return to their misery with no interference from magical machines or big bad things because of you. Now let me give you a piece of advice for the future, my sweet. Something Mr. Cheng used to tell me. Respect ghosts and gods, but keep away from them. It sounds like you almost lost your ass in the world city. I think you'd best listen to that. So there is a Mr. Cheng. Currently smiles mischievously. There have been many Mr. Chengs, my darling. None have lasted long. She stops out her cigar, screws the top back on her bottle. Now get some sleep, Uncle Bob. You look like shit. Tomorrow, we'll talk about the future. Last time you told me to got to bed, I woke up a Shadowrunner. What happens when I wake up tomorrow? We get to work, my darling. You heard Mr. Bayo. She dips her finger in her empty glass, finds the last drop of liquor and brings it to her mouth. The gods help those who seize opportunities. Huntley Ching turns away, dismissing you with a wave. Bayo, what's the status of those medical supplies? So, what are we gonna dream about? The scene on Bolt Hole is quiet, save for the sounds of eating. The crew is crowded around Goblet's electrical hot plate. Her cast iron pot simmers on top and they hold bowls of soup in their hands. You recognize the smell. Chicken-style soya broth, elbow macaroni, tinned ham, and a heaping scoop of egg-flavored mycoprotein. The mood is somber. I thought you were all going to bed. We figured we'd hang out a while. No one could remember the last time we ate. He looks over her bowl at Duncan. Besides, no one could sleep anyway. She means me. I'm too fucked up to sleep. Trying not to think about Raymond, who takes an enormous gulp of soup, wipes his mouth with the back of his hand. They're just keeping me company, feeding me and pretending not to be tired. Talking a bit. What are you talking about? Isabel fishes a chunk of something out of her soup with her fingers, flicks it to the floor. We've been debriefing a bit. Yeah, talking about all that's gone on. Everything we've been through together. Coppet shuffles her feet a bit. Sorry about Raymond, Seattle. You too, Duncan. He was trying to do good with that machine. You two need to remember that. Wu drops his head. His words come out slowly as if they were being forcefully extracted. I can't believe he did that. Gave himself to that demon. I think he did what he came to do. I guess we did too, Bob. We came to help Raymond, and he got what he wanted. Isabel stares over her bowl at the wall of the trawler. Her voice is soft. Hard to believe we defeated a god. Demon god. Coppet stirs her soup with her finger. from another plane of existence. Hard to believe that Josephine Chang is going to remain untarnished by this whole thing. The little Decker's face hardens. 20 years of misery, 20 years of suffering, for tens of thousands, hundreds maybe. That's the way it is, the way the world works. The powerful play their games, and the little people pay the price. She'll see justice someday. She has to. Who stares into his soup, squinting in concentration? But one thing doesn't add up for me. Why was Josephine Chang so intent on shutting us down? Why wouldn't she be? You saw what she was responsible for. No, think about it. The HKPF snipers, the plastic-faced man, all of the resources that she poured into capturing Raymond and hunting us down. I mean, she's already covered her tracks with that illegal drug lab explosion, right? So why not just let Ray do his thing, then cover it up afterward? It doesn't add up. It had to be the Fortune engine itself. Yeah, I think you're right. From everything Raymond said, the key was supposed to be pooling, turning toxic. But I felt something in that room, a flow of positive ki that I didn't expect. Puppet wrinkles her nose. She stares at the floor of the trawler for several seconds, apparently lost in thought. I think that it was leaving the walled city. I bet that machine did something else. Something that Raymond did not know about. Little Decker stirs her soup, pondering. What if it was a siphon? What if Josephine Chang was stealing the cast of positive key from the walled city, leeching it for her own benefit? Who nods at Isabel, runs with her train of thought. She sealed up the Fortune engine, leached the good key for herself, and took Cheng Mechanical Services from the minor company Ray's father built to ballbuster it is today. The show tightens. That's how she got herself on the Executive Council of Hong Kong. Of course, this is all speculation. Can't prove any of it, but if Josephine was using positive key that the Fortune engine was casting up, she isn't getting it anymore. Her foster father saw to that. Cobbett taps her spoon against the rim of her bowl. I wonder what'll happen to her. Guess we'll have to wait and see. Cobbett finishes her soup, lets out a little belch and pats her stomach satisfied. He tosses the bowl in the corner for madness and folly. So Seattle, what now? Maybe bed. Good plan for everybody, but especially you, Bob. Who winks at you? You look like shit. So I've heard. Catch up with Duncan, Gobbett, and Isabel. Okay. Very lengthy aftermath. Optional, but why wouldn't we do it? I wish there was a stopper shack in this damn country. I need some nerves or bromo fizz or something. He rubs his stomach and lets out a burp. That Gobbett stew is heinous. Gobbett stew. Yeah, that's a new. Everything that's a heinous is Gobbett stew. Okay. Yeah, I stay away from that. Did she offer you an oyster? Yeah, we're not that type. I mean, I don't visit her bunk all the time like you do. He pulls his right elbow back behind his head, stretching his triceps. They're a good crew, aren't they? Yeah, they really got the job done. Defeating a demon queen, yeah, I'd say so. Who switches elbows, exhales slowly as he pulls. Oh goddamn day. Feels good to stretch. You doing okay? Who shrugs, turns his back and begins stretching his legs. Yeah, sure. I took a few hits, but you'll be okay. That's it. We just saw Raymond sacrifice himself to a demon queen, who spins his torso around and glares at you red-eyed. What do you want me to say? That he was noble? That he was brave? Fuck that. He's gone. He left us. He lied to us. He hurt people and then he left us. And now he's gonna be tortured for 1,000 years or some such shit. Raymond paid for his mistakes. No question about it. No question about it. High fucking price. Who grabs an ammo box with one hand and begins curling it like a dumbbell. What about you? What do you think about Raymond, his mom, the fortune engine, this whole messed up business? Hmm. I think we're pretty good, damn good Shadowrunners. I prefer criminal mercenary operatives. Who drops the ammo box on the floor with a crash? Time for bed, Mr. Guzman. I think we deserve a good night's sleep. Get out of here. I'll see you in the morning. Isabel looks up at you, a troubled expression on her face. If she's found any peace from your victory in the walled city, she isn't showing it. Well, we did it. One Ya is gone, and we never have to set foot in the walled city again. She tries on a smile. It falls away a moment later. I guess that I don't need these memories anymore. You haven't needed them since we got back, so why haven't you deleted them yet? I don't know. I want to, but something's holding me back. It doesn't feel right somehow. I don't know why. Hmm. Do we approve or disapprove? You delete the memories, you'll be doing yourself what Josephine Tang was trying to do to Raymond. But it's not quite the same thing. Josephine Chang, in a way, I guess she loved her son, but uh, also, but she still tried to hide the fact, try to prevent him from ever shutting down the fortune engine. I'll go with the you were just fine before you had these memories restored. You've been suffering ever since. Just get rid of them, you'll be happier that way. No, I don't like this. I agree with that, but it's not about happiness. But the problem is that they're the type of memories they are. They're not normal human memories. She'll remember them clearly forever. So like it just happened. It's a it's a abnormal burden. So yeah, you were just fine before you had these memories restored. You've been suffering ever since. Just get rid of them. You'll be happier that way. Might be right. Maybe I'm being silly about this. I lived without these memories once. I was happy. All signs suggest that I could do it again, but a part of me doesn't want to. Of course not, because it's part of your goddamn identity. It's just, it'll change you. You won't be the same person anymore. It's a tough thing to give up. The act of cutting out memories is like this. I think that it's a form of self-mutilation, kinda. Makes me feel uneasy. They're ultimately your memories, Isabel. Do what you want with them. You have no one to answer to but yourself. Yeah, I know. And I want to be sure that I can live with whatever decision I do make. I'm thinking maybe I'll sleep on it. I think that's a good call. It's been a big day. Yeah, a bit. You can probably use the rest too. She offers you a small smile. Night, Uncle Bob. Rest well. You've earned it. As you enter Gobbet's cabin, you find her sipping from an enormous mug. Something dark and steamy sloshes as she lowers the vessel. Her rats squeak happily from their perches on her shoulders. That was a hell of a thing, wasn't it? We fought a Yamaking and we won. Ah, yeah, time for celebration. Gonna need to drink around here. Sure do, but if you think I'm breaking it out tonight, you're crazy. I'm exhausted, Seattle. I don't think that I can keep my eyes open for much longer. If we are celebrate our victory in style, if we are going to celebrate our victory in style, I don't wanna pass out at the 10-minute mark. You must be tired too, to be frank. I don't even know how you're still standing. Endurance, just one of my many virtues. She smirks at you. Yeah, sure it is. Go endure it in your cabin then. We mere mortals need to sleep. I'll see you tomorrow though, right? I mean, you're not going anywhere. It's phrased as a statement, firm and final. Yeah, Gobbet. I'll see you then. Yeah, right, good. I'll see you then. Right, then. She hesitates for a moment, then the corner of her mouth tilts up in that old familiar smirk. Oh, and Seattle? Yep. Sweet dreams. So, sweet dreams. Your bunk on the trawler lies waiting, patient and seductive, beckons with the promise of escape. Go to sleep and end the campaign. You drop your head onto the pillow and hold the rough naval blanket over you. The bolt hole rocks like a cradle, and moments later you are wrapped in comforting arms of sleep. There are no nightmares, only shadows. The story of the Walled City riot circulates local news networks for nearly a week. Few outside of Hong Kong hear about the incident, and of those that do, even fewer care. By the end of the month, the city is back to business as usual. In Haoi, the flow of refugees eventually slows to a trickle. Those who do escape tell stories of a terrifying demon goddess and of an old man who sacrificed his soul to banish her. Their mad ramblings are generally met with pity or contempt. After the incident in the walled city, the unbroken lucky streak that propelled Chang Mechanical Services into the limelight comes to an abrupt end. Evidence of Josephine Chang's culpability in the Walled City riots, as delivered by a reliable source, is aired on the Horizon News Network, and the corporation's stock prices go into a freefall. Within a year, Wuxing Incorporated buys out, absorbs and dismantles the company, and Josephine Chang is quietly filed away in a corporate prison. She remains there, buried behind walls of concrete and rebar, until she hangs herself 3 months later. Haoi remains a safe port of call for smugglers, gangsters, and shadowrunners alike. You are no exception. The shadows here welcome you in a way that Seattle never did. You've earned the respect of your fixer, your clients, and your community. Now that the APB on you and your team has been lifted by parties unknown, you are free to operate openly in Hong Kong. This place is yours now, your home. Guess that's it. Um, how to... yeah, I think this is better than the original game, but weaker than Dragonfall. It lacks a lot of the interesting options, and it reminds me more about, I suppose, it has some of the mechanically speaking, this is the best one. No competition there. It's basically fixes problems with the previous games, moves them forward. Better matrix. Everything mechanically speaking is better. So in that sense, this is the best. However, Dragonfall has a better told story, more interesting story. My involvement in the story of Hong Kong is basically non-existent. Yeah, we get thrown into the shadows, but we do. This is, as far as this campaign or how the story develops, is that we get the very early on we get sort of thrown into this path, get the story started. Then there's just a long series of unrelated missions. Just there's nothing wrong with the missions. They just have nothing to do with the story. We just do them, and then we go on the final. I guess, as far as the storyline mission goes, getting Raymond out of the corporate building was a good one, a very nice one, all over. But after that, it basically was more or less a tunnel run, and I didn't feel like I had too many options there anyway. Especially with the Yama King encounter. Maybe if I had chosen different dialogue options, I might have had, but it wasn't really visible. So I don't know. It didn't look like there were any options, dialogue options that would depend on any kind of a skill or character attribute or something like that. So it looked like you didn't really have all that much options. Everything was sort of flowing, or rather like funneled into the same conclusion no matter what we tried. The only option that I can pretty much guarantee that existed there was that, yeah, we could have made a deal. And that's it. But we couldn't really influence the deal either. It's just, there's nothing particularly wrong with the story either. It's more about how it's told. You can say that Dragonfall has the same sort of a structure. You get started, then you do a lot of missions that have really nothing to do with the storyline, and then it culminates in a separate, more focused mission section. However, your involvement, I feel, is more. You're more involved because you sort of, your tight group seems to do a lot of the investigating. You're not just you're collecting money with your mission. Every mission contributes to you being able to pay someone to get the information you need. You also do your own investigations. You're not just
having your hands in your pockets and sitting around for something to happen. You're trying to, as far as you can, everyone in your group is trying to contribute to finding out and solving this problem. So while there are a lot of similarities, Hong Kong, it's a lot more tightly tied to the problem and problem solving, the main storyline. And I feel that how it plays out at the end is also maybe a bit more satisfying, because you can't just go into the final meeting place. I guess there's three parts. First, find out where the final sort of encounter is going to happen. Pave your way so you can actually enter there, because if you try to just go there, you would never work. And then there's the final culmination, and it's much more satisfying because how the storyline. The big baddie encounter is much more satisfying because it's not just it's not your generic big baddie there waiting for you like it was in here. It's stylistically and visually it's a fine looking. It doesn't look like your generic demon, so it's distinct looking. But it's your generic big baddie where you don't really have any options, you don't really have any real sympathies, or it's not. It's treated like more like a force of nature that it just does what it does, which isn't a terrible thing, but it's also you can't really get invested in that. Versus, I suppose, an opponent where you can sympathize with what they're doing. I mean, you might not do the same thing, but you can see the logic what they're doing. There's a purpose behind it, and it makes a perfect sense. So I feel Hong Kong falls below Dragonfall, but still this isn't a terrible game. I mean, I guess I would say the first one is okay, Dragonfall is great, and this is a solid one. If there's any real, I mean, complaints I have about this is that it's very slow to get started initially, but once you get it going, it works just